section concrete. And it's also so we break it down to two types of condition assessment. One is O&M. What that means is we recommend for sediment removal. We recommend for vegetation clearing. Those are O&M. So those are activities that the agency or the city can do. Like summary of deficiency, what do we recommend to do? Flush the pipe or remove the sediment. And again, we have a similar summary map. So we have a maintenance deficiency and recommendation. We also have a structural deficiency and a recommendation. The structure is like cracked pipe or a crack head wall and those sort of things. Those are called structure, because those are the activity that agency cannot do them. Most of the agents cannot do them themselves. They have to hire a contractor, so we call them the rehab program instead of a maintenance program. And then with those that we identify to be deficient and in a critical condition, we typically provide an extent and also the cost to replace or repair them. Same for the maintenance, we give you approximate cost. Now I talked about earlier that typically the maintenance is done by the agency, for this case, the city, but we provide a cost as well to give you the option. If you want to sub it out to a contractor, how much likely it costs you. And then capacity assessment, and this is, again, a little bit more graphical, just to talk about what need to be included for capacity assessment. For this case, is hydrologic analysis. What they entail is developing catchment, adding land uses, including the soil condition, putting a design storm, then you can get a flow out. So I'll talk about the details. And this is where I talked at the beginning that we typically want to show the input parameter that will affect the result, not the process in between, because nobody cares if you use whatever equation in between. The public, even the technical management team, will look at what actually affect the end result. For example, if you have an open space, you're likely not going to get too much runoff. But if you have a paved freeway, you're going to get a lot of runoff or flow. So we're trying to demonstrate the beginning part and the end part and just not talk about the detail that much. And this is going to show you the land uses and how to generate the flow. I'm going to show a different soil group. And again, this is a similar concept. Clay, we're going to generate a lot more flow. Sand, we're going to generate a lot less flow. The input. Talk about design storm and how the design storm affect the runoff as well. Again, the input. So higher up the hill, you get more rain typically. Down to the lake, you get less rain or less flow consequently. And then talk about hydraulic analysis. So the typical issue that causes flooding in hydraulic or drainage facility is insufficient capacity, which we determine with the modeling. Some of the pipe bands, or we call it minor losses, the cost, like sometimes we see a manhole popping out the ground during storm is because there's a lot of pressure inside the pipe system, and sometimes caused by the band itself. When the water enter the band, it's just going to create a whole bunch of pressure. High tailwater, and this again parameter to talk about how that affect the velocity and the stage. Same as the channel roughness and how that affect the flow. Now just talk about the result. Let's give you the CFS per acre ratio. What that means is you can use that ratio and have the developer calculate the flow. For example, a developer want to develop 10 acre-feet of land. You can multiply with that ratio for develop 10-year flow. For example, if the 10 acres here, and then they want to size the pipe for the 10-year event, there will be 10 times 1 or 10 CFS for that 10 acre lot, for example. So give a little bit more simplified way to actually for developer and other people to use the size of the facility. And also give you a summary of the existing flow that going through the system along this major system for 100 year, over 10 year, 100 year. And then show you the floodplain. So this is run with a detailed 1D and 2D model. What that means is actually represent the pipe underground, the channel, and also the street network as well. So you can see, zoom in a little bit deeper. You can see how well the system define the flow, like along the street. Like this is along the street, some of this along the street, along the street. So it can provide a little bit more meaningful depiction of the actual flooding extent. This is 100 year. So one benefit we found from the study is that with the detailed modeling approach and the flow, a big part of the floodplain can be removed from paying the flood insurance. Because FEMA flood insurance only require you to pay flood insurance when your effective flood depth is more than a foot, which is a darker blue. But this case, a lot less than the previous map I showed earlier, which is this guy here. Again, for example, all this is required to pay flood insurance versus like that guy. This map is a lot less, it's a smaller affected parcel. This is one of the benefits of this detailed study. Capacity, then with those results, we typically give you assessment of the deficiency of the facility. It's a 10-year capacity, 100-year capacity, and then from there, we recommend a projects. In project, we use a flood risk approach, which is a pretty detailed approach to identify how frequent you flood. With, for example, a 2-year storm happen a lot frequent than a 100-year storm. And then consequence of the flooding. Is the flooding going to cause the neighborhood street flooding only, or is it going to damage whole bunch of houses? So using this equation, you can assess the consequence and the risk for each location. We use that to rank the project. So give you a really defensible and accurate estimate of how we rank the project. This is some of the calculation. And all this data is help provide a good foundation for technical information for grant application, because all the FEMA grant or most of the state grant require this kind of information, the cost benefit analysis. Similar analysis for the condition assessment as well. So we'll break it down to 2 types of project for condition deficient location. One is the type that the O&M folks can address using the agency general fund. Typically, we work with this agency, typically 150 to 200K below. We consider that can be funded by your general fund. But anything more than that will need a long-term planning and capital fund to fund it. So those we consider a capital project. And then we group the capital project with the flood project and rank them according to the risk. And this is our ranking just based on that. So this combine both the conditioning and capacity, you can see. So it kind of rank the risk. So the location with the higher risk, for example, for this location might not always be the top, because the cost used to fix a problem can be a lot more than the other location with a lower risk. For example, you can spend $1 to fix a risk 100 grand, a $90,000. I mean, you can spend $1 to fix $90,000 risk, but this case you can spend $4 million to spend 300 grand of risk, for just an example. So you can see the big difference. That's why not always the higher risk we recommend for improvement first. Go with the lower hanging fruit first. And then have a summary map to kind of like illustrate the ranking of the project improvements. And lastly, will be the next step. So great, you have a nice map, you have a great report, but what should we do with it? So we kind of lay out the next step for the agency typically. So talk about you can get your grant funding, you can perform more feasibility analysis, make sure the project is doable, feasible before you actually apply for grant. And you can do CLOMAR, you can remove not CLOMAR, LOMAR, so you can remove the property from flood zone so they don't have to pay for insurance. So those are the projects we recommend. Grant application, what kind of option you have. And then just kind of detail, and then lastly, design standard. All the agencies, or not say all, a lot of agencies don't really have a robust design standard. So that developer or different project end up designing different structure or different flow. So to kind of mix back of a standard, having a consistent standard for all the people to use will make your entire system more robust and defendable, and also serve the future to reduce the maintenance as well. I think with that, I want to sum it up and question.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Is this on anybody's website? This plan right here.
It is on the City of Lakeport's website.
Okay, I was kind of thought it probably would be, but
Yeah.
I just thought I'd ask that question.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you
you
very
all.
much, Mr. Chang. I appreciate that. So we're going to go on to the review of the stormwater plan.
We have a question. I also have a question, but it looks like we have a question from Supervisor Sabatier.
Yeah, so it said on there that it was looking at I don't have the right language in my mind, but it's something of the range from 5 to 25 years. So I'm guessing that's something similar to like the 100-year flood. You're looking at what's the worst type of rain in the last 25 years, or what's the worst type of rain in the average of 5 years. Am I incorrect on reading that in that type of way, that it's just kind of looking at what's expected in a 25-year rain type of thing, or is it an average of the last 25 years?
Well, it's typically design standards kind of tie to your level of service. So what that means is, do you want to provide flood protection for storm up to 10-year design storm, for example?
Oh, so like how long it will last and be maintained for is what you're saying?
It's flood protection means like if a 10-year storm comes, your storm drain system have capacity to accommodate them without causing any flooding.
Okay, so you said what I was looking for, which makes me better understand the 10-year rain. So obviously the 25-year, 5-year is the same type of concept, except one is a little less and one is a little bit more. But what I'm curious about is what we're seeing, granted, I don't have all the data in front of me, but we're seeing more atmospheric rivers occurring like in the last 5-6 years. Are those 25-year rains or 5-year rains based on the latest standards of what we've been experiencing, or are they based on an older standard that maybe doesn't quite provide that level of protection for what we've lately been experiencing?
Right, good question. It's based on collective information, historical information, including the latest.
Okay.
So it typically use 30 or 40 years of data. If the last 2 years, for example, the volume spike up quickly, you wouldn't have because the average out with 40 years of data, you're not going to see the instant trend. But I think more your question is, what will be the future like? I think that's what you're asking. So typically there's different analysis that call climate change analysis. With that analysis, we'll look at in the future, how much rainfall is going to increase and how your capacity is going to handle all the increased rainfall. That's the different type of analysis.
And I appreciate that. It's just, I know that we seem to be either in an atmospheric river or in a drought. I feel like there's nothing in between anymore. And I know that that's what we keep hearing about in issues of climate change is more extreme weather. So I just want to make sure that we're applying the potential of extreme weather and not the potential of your standard last 25 years. So I appreciate the answer.
Okay.
And was
Thanks.
there somebody else that had
Yeah.
questions?
Yeah, there's a question in the chat, and then I just have a comment on that. And I just a general thanks, Jen. That was a really great presentation. So Corolla Kennedy asked if there was management. This I think refers to your time that you were working in the county in Clear Lake before 20 years ago. He said if there was management plans written for the diversion and dam project for Lake County back then, if there was any management plans that existed.
Yes, we developed a recommendation for the diversion program. I don't know where it stands as of today.
Okay,
But
do you remember who could contracted that work? So maybe we can try to find them, or Corolla can try to find them.
From the county, I don't remember. That's
Was
way
it-
back. I can look it up.
Yeah, okay. Was it Lake County or just Yolo County, or was it in Yolo?
It's combined. It's combined effort between Yellow County and Lake County. It's
Oh,
combined
okay.
effort. Yeah.
Okay. That's great. And then I also have your contact information. So Corolla, I can connect you guys too, and we can get that. And then I had a comment that there is right now a current requirement in our stormwater permits for all of our jurisdictions to have incorporate flood management and flood protection in stormwater plans and stormwater infrastructure and anything you do where you're updating your infrastructure. And so you guys are checking that off with this plan. So good job, Lakeport. And then also the next round of state permits, which should be probably 2024, early 2024 is what we're looking at for the state, is going to require there to be a cost assessment. So having to like, how much does it cost for programs, stormwater programs to function? How much does it cost for us to maintain our asset management program or our infrastructure? And so Lakeport, you guys are already on your way for doing that with this study. So good job, kudos. And I wish we had something like that done for the county. So thank you so much, Shang. Is there any other questions from anybody? Okay, great. Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you for that
Thank you.
presentation. And then somebody asked about the document. It's on the Lakeport website, and I also have a copy. So if anybody wants it, let me know.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Good talking to you guys.
All right. Well,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I need
All
to
right, bye.
share my screen before I go to the next slide here.
So the next one is the review of the stormwater plan for the city of Clear Lake City Park.
Yeah, so there you
oh,
go, Kylie. Go ahead, Kylie.
Okay. So there's no plans yet for park projects, but I did go ahead and review some of the plans that we have this year for street improvements. There's 5 miles of streets in the city of Clear Lake that currently have no stormwater infrastructure. So in the next 2 construction seasons, we're going to be putting in storm drain infrastructure. So I think that's a pretty big deal. That'll help a lot with well, flooding, first of all, but also just making sure that we don't have a lot of sediment going into the lake, and we'll be obviously implementing BMPs in those construction projects. And that's it that I have for this meeting.
I have a question for you, Kylie.
Sure.
So you said there's only 5 miles. Do you mean 5 miles of paved roads?
For the next 2 construction seasons, we have projects of 5 miles of roads that don't have stormwater infrastructure currently that we're going to go through. They're road projects, so they're going to be resurfacing the roads and all that kind of stuff, adding curb, gutter, sidewalk, and storm drain infrastructure.
Okay, I appreciate the clarification because I misunderstood that there was only 5 miles in the entire city of Clear Lake that did not have stormwater drainage.
Oh no, yeah, definitely more than that, but
that had me confused.
yeah, definitely more than that, but we're slowly knocking them out.
Yeah, and I believe the new sidewalk that was just added in on the property catty corner from the senior center with the apartments, that has some storm drainage. I think I saw that with the new sidewalk.
Are you talking about the Oak Valley Villa, the apartment complex?
Yes.
Yeah, they're doing street frontage project.
Okay. And then just a quick question, no need for much more than just a yes or a no. With the plans that are put together for the athletic park, there's stormwater drainage that's already pre-planned into that design?
Yes, there's going to be bioswales throughout that entire project.
Okay. And that includes also the Public Works facility that's in that same region?
Correct.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks for those clarifying questions. I'm going to dovetail off of Supervisor Sabatier and ask you guys if the BMP calculator was used for any of those BMPs to demonstrate you're maximizing the phosphorus and nutrient removal.
Yes, we did use, we did put all of those projects in there last year, so.
That is great. So that's very exciting. Exactly what it's for. And at some point, Kylie, maybe not next meeting, but maybe the one in the summer when the projects are a little more finalized, or you could put together a presentation, kind of show where all those are, what type of BMPs you guys use and where they are for this committee. Is that okay?
Yeah, that sounds
Okay.
great.
So we'll do the summer meeting. We'll have you do that. Great.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions? And then we'll go next item. Sorry.
I just have one last question. I think it would be really interesting to have maps. I know it would probably be really difficult for the county, but it would be interesting to have maps of Lakeport and Clear Lake and kind of see where is their stormwater drainage that's appropriate and where is they're still missing. Just to kind of see where we are with the progress. It would be nice to just kind of like the city has maps of all the roads they're working on, and it's impressive to see the buildup and what's been changed over the last years. It would be nice to see that same concept in the stormwater plans, so we can see our progress that we're making as a group as well.
That's a great point. And actually there's two avenues where we can get that done, at least for the county. We have the National Water Quality Initiative watershed assessment plan that's being completed right now. And that's what the contractors, I think, are doing, is putting together stormwater. Where is the flow? Where is it going? How's it getting there? And then also the stormwater resources plan, those consultants, they'll also be using that same information and building upon it to identify areas where we can build out better infrastructure for stormwater, have more capture, have more storage, maybe put in green infrastructure, things like that. So we have two things that are both targeted for that, and both of those cover the county areas and Lakeport and City of Clear Lake, just FYI.
Thank you.
So, great. Any other questions? And I'll go do the TMDL update. Okay, so
Go ahead.
the TMDL, total maximum daily load, it's the way that the state is regulating Clean Water Act for us, for our lake, because it's listed as 303D list, it's impaired water body. And so we have a TMDL for sediment phosphorus on this lake. We can't exceed a certain amount of discharge of sediment phosphorus. The TMDL was started in 2006 and actually expired in 2007. We were out of compliance, or 2017, sorry. In 2017, we were not meeting our requirements. So we went on to what's called a TSO, or time schedule order. Basically, it's you putting together a plan of how you're going to meet the TMDL, and you work with the state very closely. So we've been working on the time schedule order between the cities and the county since 2018, very closely with the state. And we are pretty much in compliance with it up to this point. We're doing some crossing some last T's, dotting some I's. And then now the state has finally realized, they're like, oh, you know what? The lake produces a lot of nutrients itself. So we're going to focus the next part of the TMDL on interlake stuff. And at least for now, they're saying that the jurisdictions around the lake just need to continue their plans for their TMDL, which is their last required task. And there's not going to be, at least this point, any future requirements for TMDL. So this is good news, particularly for us. We had a monitoring plan and a QAPP that got removed because we're already doing monitoring in the urban monitoring, but also the QAPP is a really huge, intense document, and it's not appropriate at this time for the purpose. And the state recognized that it would be taking a lot of staff time, energy, and resources that instead we can be doing actually on the ground and implementing our plans. And then they also extended our effectiveness report to September 30th, 2028. So we have until then to implement some of our plans to then demonstrate that we're reducing phosphorus. So the fact that, like City of Clear Lake, you guys have that calculator, you guys have been using that, and you can demonstrate, oh, we built these things and we've reduced our phosphorus into the lake by this much, can go in that BMP report, and you guys are already on your way to meeting that requirement for that's due in 2028. I did put down the next steps. This is directly copy and paste from the water board meeting and the email, the follow-up email. So there's just some requirements for the city of Clear Lake and city of Lakeport to follow up on, basically just clarifying their next steps, their plans. And then you guys can just change your due date for your task 5 if needed, if you don't need till 2028. The county definitely needs until 2028 to get all our stuff done. Then the time schedule order will be finalized or written and then go out to public for comments and then be finalized. So just wanted to give everybody a heads up on that. Is there any questions on that? And then that's basically the wrap of Team DL for this purpose for this group. We'll be coming back to the management council as we're updating our task 5. So as we're accomplishing items like, are we doing inventories of all the drains that we're cleaning out? And, oh, we did a stormwater improvement project. Here's where it is. We've been using the BMP calculator, all those kinds of things. We can just update the group as needed. So is there any questions on that? And it looks like there's a question in the chat. Oh, that'll be for later. That'll be for the public comment, Julia. Any questions related to this topic? Okay, great.
Okay.
It's good news, basically, from the water board about our lake. So I just wanted to share that.
Great. Well, thank you. It's always good to have some good news on this board. All right.
Yes.
So, so it's taken us a long time to get here, but I'm glad that we're really starting to move forward with these permit processes and stuff. So I remember the days where they wanted to fine us all the time. So,
yeah.
Okay, so let's go on to action item on number 7, the Blue Ribbon Committee for Rehabilitation of the Clear Lake Update Grant, and that's you also. Do you want me to read all this other stuff, or are we just going to go in from one to the other, right?
Yeah, we'll go into it, and Jordan's here also. So she's actually the grant manager for this. So, but this is one of your attachments. Just make sure you guys have attachment 3 as we talk through this. And there's kind of 2 parts, but this is the first part here is an action item from the group. So, Jordan, did you want to describe this or did you want me to?
You can describe this.
Okay. So we got about $706,000 from the Blue Ribbon Committee to do a bunch of stormwater, particularly trash and illicit discharge projects. So the grant that pertains to illicit discharge, which is IDDE or illicit discharge detection elimination program, is this grant, the R18565-0. So in this grant, we had put aside some funds here this is all task 3, to do a program audit of the current illicit discharge program. So that would be basically a contractor reviewing how each of the jurisdictions responds to illicit discharges. And then also develop task 2 would be developing a guidance plan. So what is everybody supposed to do if there's a spill? Who do you contact? What is the role? And then do some stormwater updates for the illicit discharge management. And you guys can see there's quite a bit of money for all of those things. And we wanted to propose to the group, because we got this grant on behalf of the Clean Water Program for all 3 of the jurisdictions, combining all of these and making it a more robust project overall to extend out to the whole MS4 program, not just illicit discharge. So kind of including the other components like construction, post-construction, those kinds of things. And then update the stormwater ordinances for the whole stormwater ordinance, not just pertaining to illicit discharge. And we believe with the amount of money that we have there that we can do that. But we have to get your guys' all approval on that first. That's the action item. Are there any questions, concerns about that before we put it to a vote? Or Jordan, did you have anything to add? Did I describe it correctly?
You did.
Okay.
You have a
You
question?
did. Okay. Very quiet. So anybody have any questions?
I have a question. I'm not
Okay.
sure if that's coming up next or not, but it asks about the waiving of the bidding.
Yep, I think that's next. That's if you guys wanted to combine that, then we were going to ask for waiver of RFP for a variety of reasons.
I was wondering if you could provide those reasons prior to us approving to move this forward.
Absolutely. So, we're still don't have a stormwater coordinator. We're spread pretty thin. So staff constraints for doing an RFP process. I know myself, I'm already still working on 2 RFPs for 2 other projects that are funded by grants. Also, this project is shared across jurisdictions. So, having an RFP process, the burden would be on the county for that, or one of the other jurisdictions to do that. And then which RFP process is followed. And then we also have a consultant that we've used before, EOA, that's kind of done some of this with the program effectiveness assessment for the education outreach source control. So they already have some of this already done, have already completed some of it in familiarity. And then through that process of doing that, they've kind of already looked at some of these things. So they have a leg up. So that's what we were kind of, is to at least ask EOA to submit a proposal. That was our ask today, was asked to waive the RP and just ask EOA to submit a proposal. And then if this management council is okay with that proposal for this updated task, going ahead that pathway.
Okay. So we would approve the grant now. We would request the waiver of the RFP. They would submit a proposal that we would approve or deny. Is that correct?
Yeah, if we want to be, or we wanted to change the proposal or modify it to what we wanted, that would still fit within the grant guidelines. Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So does that answer your question?
It does answer my question, and I'm not sure my comfort level on the reasons why to skip an RFP. I get it that there's capacity restraints, but it also doesn't ensure that we are using our money in the most efficient ways, and it doesn't ensure competition for folks to submit their proposals rather than continuously working with the same group, which is exactly what the RFP process is there for, to ensure that we're not giving priority to or showing favoritism towards a specific place. And I know I'm a pain in the ass, but I'm not sure how comfortable.
That's your job, and that's why we asked. That's why we always request.
Yeah.
Baseline, I'll always request a waiver.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I mean, I have to agree with Supervisor Sabatier that I believe that the RFP is there for a reason, and I understand that we're restricted. So if we went out for an RFP, I guess it would be who would be responsible to actually put that out would be the county. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
So then it's the time constraints that we're worried about on that. So,
and this grant is a 3-year grant, Jordan. When's the end date? So that also puts a constraint on it. Is, are we able to go through the RFP process for this and do the line item changes for the grant and get the contractor on board to start the work and do the work? Also in here is to get the guidance plan developed and adopted, and same thing with the stormwater ordinances. Maybe it's not adopted in this grant requirement, but definitely have them be presented and be adoption ready.
I'd love to hear what others think. Did we do an RFP in the first place to work with EOA as a consultant?
We got I asked for a waiver the last 2 times we've contracted with them of the RFP, because our previous stormwater management plans were all written by EOA. Like, we've not had another company do that work. So it's really would put that's all I'll say. 325. So it's 3/20/25. So we're looking at a 2-year grant to get all this done. Basically 2 years and 2 months. Thanks, Jordan.
And if we went out for an RFP, how long do you think it would take to put that together and get it out?
I don't know, because we're still, like, we wanted to have a stormwater coordinator at this point. We wrote this grant with the idea that it would pay for a stormwater coordinator position, and they would be the ones doing that. And then we wouldn't need to, they could do the RFP, but we don't have that position yet. And we're still doing the RFP for that position. And then, so
we're still doing the RFP for the position that we're looking for.
To help us do work like this for the stormwater. Yeah.
So we're kind of in that catch-22 stage. we're right in the middle of, we don't have the personnel. And from what I can tell, the county does not have the personnel to
I mean, I could-
actually fulfill this.
Yeah, I could get to this after I've done the other 2 RFPs for other grants that end before this, so.
So I got a question. EOA was found in some way, shape, or form, whether they are just a known entity because we've worked with them for so long, or they reached out to us. Do you know of any other businesses or agencies or entities that do similar work to EOA, that instead of saying we're requesting EOA to submit a proposal, that we request multiple agencies similar to EOA to submit a proposal? That way there's no need to write necessarily a full-on RFP. I would prefer that we at least try to compare and contrast rather than just automatically give one. That's where my comfort level gets shaky.
Mhm. So I think EOA actually was selected from an RFP process in 2003, I think. So that's how far.
Yeah,
but that was that's way too far.
20
and
years ago.
that was the last time
Yeah.
that this stormwater plant, like stormwater stuff, was completed to do work. So yeah, there's lots of companies, like even the one we just heard from, I don't know if that's within the scope of Wood Rogers to do work like this. So I don't know if there's like but there's probably many consulting firms that could do stormwater stuff like this.
Because I'm willing to be flexible, and I know that reaching out to agencies and asking for a proposal is slightly different than the workload required to create a whole full-on RFP process. And if that is something that's acceptable to you to kind of go in between, as long as we're reaching out to more than one specific company. So again, we can make sure that we're using our funds efficiently, and we can make sure that we have a potential to compare and contrast the quality of the work or the experience of the work, and so on and so forth. But if we're going to use the same agency from 2003 and have not done an RFP since then, I am now absolutely more than just shaky. I'm super uncomfortable in just continuing to say waive the RFP process.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So Bruno basically just said what I was going to say. If we could just go out and ask for submittal of proposals from different companies that we know do these type of projects instead of the full RFP. I am comfortable with that also. You know, so that was what I was going to suggest that too. So thank you, Bruno, for doing that. So how about any other comments from anybody else?
Yes, thank you. I think that what is being described is basically a request for quote, right? And I think that's a pretty typical process for projects that are a lesser amount of money, but I think it's a creative way to at least go through to give us the kind of information that we would be getting if we wanted to contrast, as has already been said, and yet keeping sight of the fact that we want to be a little bit nimble and capture this grant if we can. So I like that, and I too am thinking it is important that we apply something like this, given the longevity of working with this singular provider. So I'm happy with this proposed solution here.
Okay. Anybody else? Comments? Questions? Is there anybody in the chat? No? All right. Okay. So then, so we need a motion on for the grant, correct?
So I move to approve moving forward with grant R18565-0. And I'll just add all of them in and request staff to obtain quotes from multiple agencies capable of delivering the services. And I will stop right there.
Thank you. So that's a motion by Supervisor Sabatier. Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay. All right. And so all in favor? Or should I say, is there anybody opposed? No? Okay. Motion carries.
Thank you. Kelly, I just want to make sure you were able to get that. Okay.
I think she was helping someone at the front.
That's
but
what
we'll- she gets.
Okay, well, we have the recording. So, okay, perfect, great. Okay. Thanks. So this next
Okay.
item is not an action item, and I believe Jordan can help describe this.
Hi, all right, so with the second grant that, I received, we want to partner with cities, and give $10,000 for staff labor, regarding, cleanups, volunteer cleanups, and 5,000 for supplies regarding hazmat, spill response, supplies and equipment. And, you know, they must be completed events and complied with our grant. Yeah.
So this
Okay,
grant
here's
will help us meet our trash plan requirements. All the jurisdiction contributed to this trash plan. You guys can see the cover sheet here. There's requirements in there that we told the state that we would do to be in compliance. And so we got this grant for Blue Ribbon Committee to get funds to help meet some of those. So that's what this is. If the cities want to offset their costs, we can cover it with the grant. We didn't know what your cost would be, so we just ballparked these figures with the amount of money that we put in the grant. And because when we made the grant, we didn't get any comments from anybody about how much stuff costs. We didn't know what to put in there to ask for. So we just, again, ballparked it. So that's what this is. So if the cities want to be able to use these funds between the time period here, we can start work on those agreements. I don't even know if we need an agreement, Jordan, because it's already in the grant, right? The cities.
It is in the grant,
Okay.
the county and cities. It's more like, hey, we want to give you this money and then you guys get to do, as long as it falls within the grant, do with it what you
Okay.
please.
So it'll be like an MOU probably. It's a little,
Mhm.
yeah, an MOU between them, just to saying that you guys will be doing these activities that and tracking it with these things and submitting invoices and can be reimbursed for that. But we want to check with cities to see if these amounts worked for you guys and if you're interested in doing that and can commit to that, and then we'll make the MOU.
I'm sure the city of Clear Lake can commit because we already do a lot of this stuff. So some extra money would be nice.
Well, and I'm thinking free money is good, but I really don't know about the numbers. I'd have to check with the staff from Lakeport to know if that is looking good. I can't imagine why there would be a no, but I just don't feel like I have that information right now.
And Bethany said she stepped away, but I don't know if she's back yet. Do you have any indicator, Bethany? Maybe did she say she'd step away? At 3, okay, so just now. Okay.
He always steps away at the worst of times.
Like right when you need you.
I have a question. On random, and I apologize. I think Maria Turner is here with us.
She was.
I have not stepped away.
Okay.
She was.
Maria, thank you for being here. I just know that Maria is working on a legal dumping ordinance, and I'm kind of curious if that's been pushed to Water Resources to see what maybe Water Resources might want to add to that, so that we can try to find ways to also lessen the amount of garbage going into the lake, and maybe adding specific type of fines if the garbage is found within a certain distance of the lake. I don't know, just thinking out loud of what else we can do to try to put as much teeth into it to try to restrict the amount of stuff going into the lake, and thought I'd bring it up now rather than when the document was completed.
Marcus Beltramo, our code enforcement manager, has been working on that. We've been mainly working with public services so far. We're going to get that memo to them to schedule at their next solid waste task force meeting, but I think running it by Water Resources is a good idea, so we'll make sure we do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then Maria, you have our trash plan, right? To see if there's anything in there, at least the state requirement for stormwaters would overlap
I'm
with
pretty sure
that.
I'd remember if I had a trash plan. Send it over to me, I'll take a look.
Okay, it is on our website, so I could send you the link there. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Everyone should have a trash plan.
Right?
Well, and it should be, if there's gonna be fines or something, it shouldn't just be by the lake, it should be any waterways, because, we have streams and stuff that run through our town, so
I don't
I would
disagree.
suggest we go, if we go to that way, it should be any waterways. But yes, so any other questions or comments?
Bethany, oh,
oh.
go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna ask Angela if the city thinks, and this $10,000 and $5,000, that's for the entire work period.
Yeah, between 2023 and 2025.
Okay, so if they think that's not enough money, is there a way to get more, or is that kind of the cap, or what are you thinking about that? I'm just asking because I'm gonna talk with Public Works and see what they think, if that's a good amount of money.
I mean, let us know what you would need to do the amount of cleanups that you would want to do. And
Yeah.
then we'll see what's in the grant and we'll be able to split it up the most way. We have a lot of money in the grant and we're more worried about not being able to spend it all.
Yeah.
And giving back some, which is the worst case scenario. The best case scenario is we spend all the money in the grant and we're done with the grant in 2024 and we've
Right.
done everything. And then we show that, oh, we really need more money. That's the best scenario. So, and if you can get us the numbers before by the next meeting, then of what it is that you want to do and what it would cost, that would
Yeah.
help us for volunteer cleanups, staff cleanups and volunteer cleanups or outreach events. And then for spill response too, like illicit discharge. I know kind of you guys have to have that program updated. So those supplies for the 5,000 supplies go for that.
Okay, and where do I find the grant with like explaining the criteria to use the funds for? Where's that verbiage at?
I can get that to you.
Okay, that would be great. I'll get that to you within the next week, Angela, the number for you.
Okay, to Jordan, you can CC
Okay.
me, but really Jordan's gonna have it. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, and Bethany is back. So Bethany, we're just seeing if these amounts would be sufficient for doing trash cleanups and spill response for the city's out of the Blue Room Committee grant. So, and do you have any idea, or do you need to come back to us with numbers?
I can come back to you with numbers, so that those numbers there would be split between the three.
Nope, do we 10,000 to Lakeport, 10,000 to Clear Lake, 5,000
Okay.
to Lakeport, 5,000 to Clear Lake? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that looks great. I think it's probably a bit high for Lakeport, but I can come back if you'd like.
Okay, we'll give it to City of Clear Lake, so that would be fine.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect.
But yeah, we'll take it. Okay.
We're cleaning up stuff everywhere. This is a good problem to have.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Okay,
action
any other-
item to send out the grant to everybody. Yeah, we'll just send it out to everybody. Okay. Okay, any
All right.
other things on that? Oop, okay. Oh, good. Work group. So the last quarter was over a lot of holidays. We actually didn't have any work group meetings because it was really hard with holidays and just people didn't want to show up or couldn't agree to meet. So we can skip this section if the committee is okay with that. Because we have nothing to report.
If there's nothing to report, then we should skip it. So,
Great. So we don't have any scheduled yet for the next one, but we'll make sure to reach out to the group for that. And then the next meeting is April 13th, a Thursday at 2 p.m. And remember that the end of the reporting period is June 30th. So you should be working on your permit compliance for spring. And then we are expecting, this should be updated to spring 2024, the new draft permit, I believe. And I think that's it. Now we're at public comment. And I do know there was a question. Sorry, Joyce, I kind of overtook you because I know there's
no,
a question in the
that's okay.
chat. I want to
That's
make
okay.
sure I don't
know
forget.
Yeah, that's okay. So, yeah, go ahead. So we have a public comment period here, and you said we do have a public comment. So let's go. There was one that had here that had a question in the chat room, right? That we wanted to do. Was it Julie?
Yep, Julie, is Lake County Stormwater Management Plan being updated next year? And then if so, how does public give input for that update? We do not have an update. We don't have that planned yet. And that's because the new state permit for stormwater is not going into effect until we're thinking 2024. And there's no point in doing a stormwater management plan if we don't have it complying with the current permit. So if we made a plan now, it would comply with the old permit. We have to redo it when the new permit comes out. So we're going to match those up. And there will be public input for that. These meetings are all public, so we'll be reviewing those plans for that. And then we could also do specific stormwater management plan development, town halls or webinars or water quality Wednesday, things like that. And then her second comment is there's a serious stormwater management issue in Main Street, Upper Lake at Maddox Court. How do I bring this forward to the committee? You are right now. Do you want to describe that, Julie?
Thank you, Angela. Julia Carrera, environmental scientist, resident in Upper Lake. I had to cut my Portugal trip short. And in this last atmospheric rain, we had floodwaters so significant that my workers and I spent 60 hours pumping water to keep 3 houses from flooding. And that's after I went ahead and spent over $10,000 to repair and clean out the stormwater ditches on Main Street in the 3 county-owned culverts that 2 of them have significant holes in the bottom and the top of. And I want to bring attention to this issue because it's a health and public safety issue as well as an erosion control issue. And I understand because I brought it to Supervisor Crandall's attention along with County Council that the Water Resources Director, Mr. De Leon, is doing a investigation. And I was told that about 3 weeks ago, but I don't know where that investigation is at. So I'm bringing this to this committee because it flooded Main Street from Maddox Court to the library, which is about 2 city blocks. It was a lot of work. I'm fortunate enough to have the resources and the capacity to deal with it. But if I hadn't, 3 of my homes would have been underwater. So that is why I'm here.
Julia,
Okay,
this is,
so-
is that okay if I go ahead? This is Marina.
Yes, go
Great.
ahead, Marina.
Thank you. Julia, I will go ahead and check that for you out. I know that Public Works staff did go out and do an investigation. I will have Director De Leon or myself follow back up with you by tomorrow regarding the status of that.
Marina, I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'm just concerned that this isn't going to get addressed in the roads project or, some stormwater project because we've got a serious issue. There's a sinkhole, 2 of them actually, that I know that Public Works came out and met with me and some of my workers and some of the neighbors, and they were very good at explaining to us what's is or isn't going on. And it was a very beneficial meeting, but this is a serious issue down here and somebody needs to start paying attention to it because we've got semis going over those sinkholes, even while it was raining, that carry produce, meat, fish, propane, gas, American, the express deliveries, UPS, Federal Express, etc. And those sinkholes are just getting deeper and someone's going to get hurt. So that's why I want someone to at least pay attention.
Great. All right. Thank you so much, Julia. And I will have, like I said, we'll follow up with you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, is there any other public comments? I don't see anything in the chat. No? Okay.
I had my hand up.
Oh, did you? Well, I am sorry.
Oh, you're
Go
on your
right
phone,
ahead.
so you can't
Yeah.
see that.
Well, I
Hi.
got both, but I didn't see your hand up. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'll lower it right now. But again, my name is Terry Logston, and I am the Chief Climate Resiliency Officer for the County of Lake. But in my last position, I came to the Stormwater Council when I was with the Scotts Valley Band of Pomo Indians, and you all signed a letter of support on a grant. And I wanted to let you know that in late November, after your last meeting, we got word that that grant was not funded. So there won't be any biochar infused storm water wattles. I wanted to let you know that. And then now putting my county hat back on, I wanted again to let you know about my position. I'm going to put my email in the chat. I would like to reach out and talk to stormwater more with us, both of the cities around your needs and planning for climate change. So I'll put my email in the chat, and thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other public comment? Okay, all right, so we're going to close public comment, and our last item is there anything to be added on for next meeting that anybody might have at this time? Okay, so I'd like to thank you guys all for joining us for this meeting. It went a little faster than I thought. So, thank you guys all for the presentations and your comments. And we will, I think there's nothing else. Is there anything else, Angela, that you needed to add?
Angela had to step away and deal with something, so I do not believe she has anything else to add. But if there is, we'll be sure to follow up before the next meeting.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody, and have a great weekend. And I will adjourn this meeting.
Thank you so much, everyone.